I don't think I'll ever forget the first time I played Helldivers 2. I'm not traditionally super into shooters, so I don't think I was planning to ever pick it up for myself, but I do like my friends, so when they put out the call for a fourth to fill out their squad, I decided it certainly couldn't hurt to just give it a try. Which is why that first game was bots, at Malevelon Creek, on level 7. And I wish I had the footage. I think we succeeded, but I don't really remember. Mostly what I remember is demanding that those three, who'd been diving for tens of hours already, not turn down the difficulty for my first drop when they offered to do so. As a result, mostly, I think I spent the mission just getting ragdolled around the entire swamp. Mostly, I had so much fun. I put around 15 hours into the game in that week, which was a lot for the time, and by the end of that time, those guys had largely moved on to something else, something of no consequence. I don't remember what it was. But I'd been hooked a bit, and I wasn't quite ready to be done. The problem being that I'm not really a playing with randoms kind of person, you know? Despite my job as a presenter, I suppose, a guy who competes for your attention on a platform of infinite attention-seeking, I'm not really interested in being observed outside my work. So with no friends available and no interest in randoms, but a deep desire to defend democracy, I just dove alone for a little while. To grab some samples, trash some clankers, you know? Do my part. But I swear to you, that is a different game. It had been almost a year since I touched the game, but as of late, I've been playing Helldivers again. And I know that I could send out a call and fill a squad of 4 with divers ready to go in a handful of minutes at most, but I've been drawn to that old school lonely dive style like I used to play. I'm currently sitting at just shy of 40 hours total playtime, meaning that over the last 2 weeks or so, just with solo dives alone, I've over doubled the amount of time I have spent playing the game, and I think it's safe to say that I have more time diving solo than diving as a squad, and I don't really feel like stopping. And because I think it's important to pay attention to what you pay attention to, I want to think about that more. Firstly, it came with the preconceived notion that I would need to drop the difficulty, so I did, from level 7 to level 4, essentially dropping 1 level for every diver that was not with me. After all, I don't think I'm the kind of player who could realistically tackle something like level 7 alone, nor do I really care to try to be that kind of player. So for me, this is not about optimization, this is not about meta, this is about me pursuing a very specific type of relationship with the game, entirely defined by my own enjoyment and shaping of this experience as I play through it alone. And truth be told, I did play through it alone for a little while, and that was good, but not quite right this time around. So I made some changes, and I experimented a little bit. Just played around with some settings, really got into the vibe, and what that means for this video is we've reached the point where I address the thing you've perhaps noticed. Pretty much all of my HUD is missing, from the ammo counter to the crosshair to my stim count to my mission timer and beyond. And these elements aren't the only thing I turned off, because I also put the music on mute. I mostly did these things to gather a little bit of very specific footage, but I genuinely think I'm entirely disinterested in ever turning these particular elements back on. With all of these combined elements removed, this experience largely became about quieting down the game's loudness, be that literal or visual. It's an immersion-centric playstyle, wherein playing solo means connecting with the world just as much as it means picking your fights. With only 1 rifle, 1 gunship, 1 destroyer, etc., each fight is more difficult. Each fight consumes more time, more resources than if you had a full squad. Meaning that if you want to finish your missions on time, that often means bypassing things that aren't critical, which means some combination of going slow, going careful, and in my case, at least, playing for stealth. Now, like all great stealth games, this immersion-centric solo dive playstyle comes with a great sense of disempowerment. Not being able to track your ammo exactly, not being able to track your health exactly, not being able to check how much time you have left in the mission exactly. There is such an incredible experience that happens with this sort of disempowerment here, a fascinating sort of pseudo-horror to aiming down your sights, pulling the trigger, and getting a click, because you fundamentally mistracked your ammo and now you have to scramble, call an audible, because the plan you had was entirely made around being able to shoot a gun right now. With music off, this sense extends to the soundscape as well, particularly with the drop into any given level. What's designed to be heroic, bold, a courageous entry into the fires of war becomes a really long time to think about how you're probably not coming back. So much of the game becomes an experience about paying attention, listening to when your diver calls out last mag, listening to when they announce that they found something, paying attention to when mission control calls out how much time is left in the mission, because you don't have a personal clock anymore. It becomes about the gut feeling of how much ammo you have left, how many grenades are still on your belt, pop quiz, hot shot, how many stims are on your person right now. Because the amount of times I've gone to heal only for my diver to tell me that, you idiot, you buffoon, you don't have any stims, is not a lot, exactly, but it's happened enough. And I'm sure someone out there can Rambo through these levels, but I've found that sneaking through these bot patrols gives this incredible sense of satisfaction, like I've outsmarted the game itself. This is the only place where I've ever given a shit about my gear. I've never cared about any meta for Helldivers 2, which is why I've basically run the exact same gear for every single mission I've ever dropped for. An R63 CS Diligence Counter Sniper for primary, the trusty P19 Redeemer for secondary, and an anti-material rifle for the special slot because last time I checked, most bad guys are made out of material. Which is why the only change I've made is going from the CM21 Trench Paramedic body to the SC30 Trailblazer Scout, because the Scout set specifically reduces the range at which enemies can detect you while maxing out your personal move speed. And being so hard to detect means that you can pull off some really wild things. Playing quietly and playing for stealth means you have a lot of time to notice what's around you. And I think if I just tell you that Helldivers is a game that looks good, you'll sort of know it intrinsically. You'll have absorbed through basic osmosis that Helldivers is a pretty game. Helldivers is a beautiful game.
That's pretty good.
Helldivers is a lot of things, some far more obvious than others, and the beauty that comes with the game is something I'd largely missed while playing with a squad. There's a sort of cause and effect thing that made the noticing possible, because when I played with a squad, I'd play level 7, and with a squad on level 7, there's not a lot of quiet time to be had. But here on a level 4 solo, there's still some exciting action, but enough time in between to really breathe in the atmosphere. Malevelon Creek, where this all started for me, is currently listed as secure, so no diving there, which is why I had to recreate the vibe for the intro of the video. But it's that ability to recreate that I appreciate, because if I'm ever feeling nostalgic for that old school space Vietnam style encounter versus the bots, which I often am, I can still get that on a planet like Azure Pass, even though, to be honest, this feels a little more like Space Everglades to me. There's just something about the water here, and the fog, and the catching glimpses of red light through the mist, hearing the bots before you see them, relying entirely on your radar blips to know if you're safe or not. How when the light hits just right, everything goes to a mute sort of grayscale, with just the red to shine through, or occasionally dominate the space. Menkent is remarkable because I can just say the words fire tornado and you'll either get it or you won't, but by God, I get it. One of the most engaging, exciting moments I've ever had in this game was trying to defend my Pelican's landing zone alone from waves of bots, all the while the fire got closer and closer. But the planet is capable of more than just big and bombastic, because it can do subtle as well. More than perhaps any other planet I know, Menkent has the potential to portray itself as both apocalyptic and post-apocalyptic. A quiet, ruinous loneliness, where the stark mesas and the wide open fields of sand that stretch seemingly ever on seems to enforce that you are truly alone. And truth be told, I don't quite mind that. Martale is a special one for me because it reminds me of home just enough to make me feel like I'm fighting for something that I actually care about. The high mountain peaks and the tundra and the lichen and the pines, it all feels unmistakably familiar to me. Maybe some other locale does it for you, but Martale is just right for me. Not just pretty, not just aesthetically pleasing, but home. There's a lot of planets that need the Helldivers right now, some that need them very badly, but honestly, I think I'm going to be on this one for a while. And these are just 3. There's so many more planets that even if they share some elements, each still manages to pull off a unique sense of identity. But for any amount of individuality these planets have, the thing that all of these planets share is a skybox that absolutely and unapologetically goes so goddamn hard. It feels so real. It moves. It actually moves and changes. There's a day-night cycle for every planet in the game. It feels like a real place. It feels like I'm actually there. It's like I'm actually really about to die for democracy. And all of these elements are things I'd missed or never gotten the chance to actively acknowledge and appreciate before now. That said, there's more to the design of each battlefield than the trees and the tornadoes or the physical beauty. Because with a slower, quieter approach, you're given the chance to reflect on the set dressing. You get the chance to think about the fact that each map is littered with dead CF personnel who were here before you. That so much of this wreckage is not just downed pelicans, but downed pelicans still aflame. This was recent, and the bots aren't here by happenstance. They aren't just a passive small encounter, they're here at these downed pelicans to make sure the job is finished. Because we aren't the first people with boots on the ground here. Others were here before us, and it's our privilege and responsibility to pick up the rifle and continue the fight. Just as when you die, inevitably, another someone will pick up your rifle and continue your fight. I never really had the time or attention to care about that before now. But now I'm caring about how many divers have been labeled KIA for any given planet. I'm feeling lamentful every time I see a pelican or an eagle that's been downed, and I'm starting to feel just a little, a tiny bit, genuinely patriotic every time I see a hell bomb go off. You can say cool guys don't look at explosions, but there ain't nothing wrong with enjoying the fruits of your labor. What all of this means is that I've basically found this delightful way to experience Helldivers 2, a playstyle that supports my love of doing weird shit in games that I'm not necessarily intended to do, but I wasn't stopped from doing anyways. Like that time I didn't want to try and brute force a siege into a bot fabricator outpost, so I spent like 5 minutes sneaking my way around the cliffside outside with the jump pack, only to find some goofy invisible walls blocking my way. I still made it work in the end. Honestly though, this wouldn't feel complete without showcasing what the standard level 7 looks like if you play solo. I mean, sure, it's just gonna be me getting ragdolled around for a while, but I still thought I might get something interesting out of it, is what I thought, before I dropped for the first of 3 missions. Because as it turns out, I can do it. And it didn't really take any radical change up to my gear or my understanding of how I wanted to play the game, I just changed my stratagems ever so slightly. I am actually good enough to dive solo at level 7. The only thing holding me back was my own preconceived notion of my own abilities. Oh, and this clip from before, of that bot patrol totally bypassing me even though I was right next to it? Yeah, that wasn't a level 4, I lied to you. That was a level 7. I actually ended up unlocking level 8 missions as a result of these runs. And look, I'm gonna be real with you, I'm fully aware that a level 7 solo is still remarkably easier than a level 7 group, simply based on the fact that Helldivers scales down the number and type of enemies based not just on mission level, but on how many divers are in a squad as well, which is why the most intense level 7 solo extraction I've had looks like this, but the most intense level 7 group extraction I've had looks like this. Yes, level 7 solo is easier than level 7 group, This is not about difficulty or challenge, even if difficulty and challenge are inevitable parts of the experience, because what this is about is this experience. Did I need to explain that? Maybe the Helldivers community is more chill than I expect, but you make enough videos for the internet and you stop trusting that people will understand your ideas in good faith. Who knows? If someone leaves a comment about how much easier level 7 solo is than level 7 group with intent to talk down on the experience, I'll know they didn't get to this part and then we can laugh at them together. I don't think this is going to be the preferred playstyle for every person. I mean, at its core, Helldivers 2 feels like a game designed to be played with a squad. But if you're ever in the mood for a change-up, or just want a new perspective, give this a try. Turn off the HUD, turn down the music, and just breathe in the atmosphere. You might find something you like. And if the world design and narration guy can do it, so can you. Okay! As it stands right now, I have my 3D printer running behind me and one of my managers beside me, so if you hear the sounds of a machine or a cat, I'm not editing them out. We're gonna start getting really personal with these outros. Once the screen fades and the main essay is behind us, do not expect professionalism. I'm done at this point. Hey, so you might notice that this video is coming out exactly 21 days after the last one, and the reason for that is because I think that's a very good pace to grow the channel with. And, between the two of us, I want that silver play button so goddamn bad this year it would spin your jaw. And what that means for a channel like mine, at least a channel of my size, is consistency. So, my goal for not just the month of March or the month of April, but the year of 2025 is one video every 3 weeks, and upload every 21 days on the dot. Will I get that? I hope I'll get that. We'll see what happens, I guess. Hey, so really quick before I let you go, I need to give a massive thank you to a handful of people. Those being Talos-tastic, Ivan Thanosi, Daddy Biscuit 22, Jordan, Device MD, Late Night Baker 24, New Kind of Tired, Anna Knits Too Much, T.Log, Charlie Bell, Ginger Crow, and Michael Bauman. There were not supposed to be this many executive funders. This is getting out of control. These people are such an incredible backbone for the channel, and they, along with everyone else who's ever made the jump to support my work on Patreon, are basically single-handedly responsible for everything I've ever done. If you want to join up with them, get my videos ad-free, get them early, or just help support the channel you enjoy, then consider making the jump over to Patreon and seeing if there's a tier that works for you. Thank you.